Motivation, the very thing that makes us desire something. It fuels things like competition and social connection. It's the key to setting and attaining our goals. But where does it come from? There are certain parts of the brain that are responsible for this feeling. To start, there's the ventral tegmental area, or VTA for short. When we experience something rewarding or pleasurable, the VTA releases dopamine, which reinforces the behavior and increases motivation to seek out the reward again. The nucleus accumbens, the part of the brain that's responsible for processing rewards and pleasurable experiences. It's closely connected to the VTA. The amygdala, it influences motivation by attaching emotional significance to it. This part of the brain is mainly responsible for processing emotions, which can drive behavior and decision making. The hypothalamus, it's involved in regulating various physiological processes and behaviors, including a more instinctual motivation. It helps control hunger, thirst, and other behaviors related to survival. And last but not least, the striatum. It is involved in reinforcement learning and plays a role in habit formation, essentially making motivation a desire all on its own. As people, we constantly go through these spontaneous bursts of motivation. Some have the ability to create it from nothing, and others can't seem to find the light. And although there's plenty of variation, motivation and dopamine go hand in hand. Think about it this way. Motivation happens when your dopamine spikes, because you anticipate something important is about to happen. As far as dopamine goes, there's so much of it around us these days. I'd even say there's too much. Exercising, eating, spending time with those you love, doing your favorite hobbies, and other things of that nature, they're all things that spike your dopamine, which would explain why you'd be motivated to do it again. And that not only applies to positive things, but also to negative things. So keep that in mind. Through this process of finding motivation, we all face resistance. Fear of failure, negativity, perfectionism, self-doubt, and overthinking. All prime examples of killers that kill motivation, that is. But even with those variables, it's necessary. We all need a little bit of motivation. It's that push that guides us to doing the things we want to do. It provides you with goals to work towards. It helps you find ways to attain those goals. It helps you solve problems. It helps you change old habits. The right kind of motivation really changes your way of living for the better. But that's not to say that the only time to make changes in our lives is only when we feel motivated. In fact, we should be most inclined to making changes when we aren't motivated. So should you rely on it? This thing that comes and goes? Should you expect it to pull you out of a rut or push you to do better for yourself? Or should you rely more on rational thinking, making the logical decisions in these situations? The correct answer would be to be balanced, with a little bit of motivation and the benefits of rationally thinking. You could really achieve anything you want to. Think of the story of Icarus. Fly too close to the sun and your wings melt. Fly too close to the ocean and your wings will get too heavy, so you'll drown. It's about moderation. That is the key. Or think of Proverbs. If you have found honey, eat only enough for you, lest you have your fill of it and vomit it. In other words, it's about moderation. That is the key. Though you don't need motivation to bring about change, it's single-handedly responsible for some of society's biggest influences. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson. These are all examples of motivated men that have influenced millions of lives. And why is that? Because of their motivation to do so. Sometimes you're gonna have to act or perform without it, and sometimes you'll have the motivation but won't know where to start or where to go. It can be the reason why we make our biggest achievements, but don't let the lack of it stop you from doing the things you want to do. Through the pursuit of our goals, we find motivation, even in the things we would least expect it from.